What is going on, everyone? It has been Lone Vault Wanderer here with a game news video, which is more of a discussion, and I really want to have a healthy, nice, respectable debate with all of you watching this video now. And I want to pose to you the following question. To you personally, for a video game, when it's reviewed, does a 10 out of 10 score mean the game is absolutely technically perfect, or does it mean something else slightly different to you? And I ask this because, of course, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has come out on the Nintendo Switch, and most big game reviewers are giving it a 10 out of 10. There's a few 9s in there. Jim Sterling gave it a 7 out of 10, which I personally disagree with, but you can't knock Jim Sterling. He always gives a comprehensive review in that regard. But we're not here to talk about that and whether I agree with what scores Breath of the Wild got. I'm more here to talk about the review score of 10 out of 10 as a concept, and whether it really means that a game is technically perfect. Because when I see a lot of people responding to review scores, again, Breath of the Wild being a perfect example, and there are a lot of news outlets such as IGN, GameSpot, etc., that are giving certain games 10 out of 10, I see a lot of comments of people saying, this game isn't perfect, it has so many issues, it has this, it has that, it could do this better, it could improve in that regard. And those might all be very, very valid criticisms, right, of the particular game. But does that necessarily mean that that game should not get 10 out of 10? Because I think people view, some people anyways, I'm not trying to generalize this, but I think some people view a 10 out of 10 score for a video game as perfect, as something that, unless the game has absolutely no flaws in any regard, graphical, feature-wise, etc., it should not deserve a 10 out of 10 score. And I don't necessarily subscribe to that way of thinking, because 10 out of 10 to me doesn't mean a game is technically perfect. It doesn't express to me, when I see a 10 out of 10 score given by an IGN or a GameSpot, etc., I don't view it as them saying that the game is technically, literally perfect. Because no game, it doesn't matter what game you're looking at, no game in my opinion is perfect. You could look at any great game, any phenomenal game, a masterpiece, and you will always be able to find flaws. You will always be able to find small issues, problems, and critique that game. It's inevitable. It's just the way the medium is. Games are so large and so big that there is absolutely no way that a game cannot contain a single flaw. And I do not believe that any game has ever reached that state of perfection, nor could a game ever achieve that state of perfection, because it's impossible. It's literally impossible, again, in my opinion, for a game to be absolutely perfect. I mean, what is the point of having a 0 to 10 scale if 10 is actually not an achievable score? What is the point of having a 0 to 10 scale if there are some people out there that think absolutely no game deserves a 10 out of 10 score, or if it does, it should not have any flaws? Because again, that's fundamentally impossible for a game to have no flaws. When I see a 10 out of 10 review score, what I instead see is the reviewer saying, this game is as perfect as it can be. This game is as perfect as humanly possible. Again, any game will have flaws, but if a game gets a 10 out of 10, I read that as being the game is an absolute masterpiece, and the flaws which are there, which of course are existent, are not enough to detract from that, are not enough to detract from its masterpiece status. So that's how I view what a 10 out of 10 review score is. Again, not trying to describe a game that's technically perfect in every single way, because that is not possible, but rather a game that is a masterpiece that in every possible way succeeds extremely well. And it's as perfect as a game could possibly be, accepting the realities of the medium. So when I see people give Zelda Breath of the Wild a 10 out of 10, I can see where they're coming from. Me personally, if you want to ask my opinion about that game, I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10. I'd probably give it a 9.5. I hate review scores, like, to be honest, I hate boiling down your thought into one little score. They do serve a purpose, and I'll touch on that in a little bit, but I'd probably give that game a 9.5 out of 10. As much as I love it, I mean, I'm having such a great time with this game. I'm having a blast playing it. But in a few ways, the game is a little bit grindy. That's my one criticism. If I had to say anything bad or critical about that game, It's in some regards it can be grindy. It's, for example, having to find all the shrines, having to find the 900 apparently Korok seeds that there are in the game, having to discover every single location and having to climb up those Assassin's Creed-esque towers where it's pretty much like a viewpoint and you're synchronizing with the world, and a particular area in your map will show up as visible in your Sheikah slate. In some regards, I find the game a little bit grindy, for the lack of a better term, but it's still an absolutely phenomenal game, and I would confidently give it a 9.5. It's almost on par with my opinion of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and you guys know, I've said this on so many occasions, how much I absolutely love that game. But even given my personal criticisms, that's just disagreement's sake, I can still see why that game got a 10 out of 10. I can look at a 10 out of 10 score for Breath of the Wild and not think, no, the game isn't perfect, it shouldn't deserve a 10 out of 10 score. What I see from that is a reviewer thinking that, yes, it has flaws, but they're not enough to detract from that 10 out of 10 status. Because that, again, is accepting the realities of the medium. You cannot have a technically perfect game. It's impossible. But as I mentioned before, review scores, as much as I really don't like them as a concept, they do serve a purpose. And that purpose, one of them being anyways, for people that want to get a really, really quick understanding of what reviewers and critics think of a game, review scores do, in effect, serve that purpose. You can look at a game that's 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, and just generally get a nice average feel of what everyone thinks about the game. I would still always recommend that you look at multiple review scores. More importantly, I would still recommend that you look at what they're actually saying, reviewers and critics are actually saying about a particular game, because I don't think any review score is a perfect supplement for what people are saying about a game. But they do serve a purpose, so I'm not going to criticize them in their entirety. But circling back here, the point of this video is to say that I don't believe a 10 out of 10 score for a game should be viewed as the reviewer conveying that they think the game is technically perfect. But again, I'd love to get your thoughts on this topic, Wastelanders. Let me know in the comments below. What's your opinion of a 10 out of 10 review score for a game? Do you think that means it should be absolutely perfect, or do you think it means, all things considered, it is a masterpiece of a game? Anyways, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'll debate with you as always in the comments below. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.